posted probably right after this training, just with a few more updates. Now that, it's starting to get back into things with COVID. And we have a few new processes or clarification of some processes that we've been doing. So some of this, for some of you that have done it for a while, it may seem very repetitious, but there are some new things thrown in here. And also sometimes it's just good to rehear some things to make sure that doing them in the right process. So Renee?
Yep. So you've most of you have been through some of this before, and you recognize kind of what we're doing here. But we wanted to update it, and I'm actually heading to a different position, so I wanted to get this training done so we can maybe have this as a resource to you all in the future. I'm going to be recording it, and it will be available for you to go back and see again if needed. And you'll also have we'll also forward the PowerPoint when we're done. So if you have any comments or questions, feel free to put them in the conversation kind of comments field on the Skype application here. So we can get to those. We might wait to answer those until we're at a different section or when we're ending a section. So anybody have any questions to start, or are we ready?
I do have one question.
Sure.
It's less to do with the database, more to do with the inspection process. But it's I guess the lab in Essex that handles all the water samples isn't doing that anymore, and I was wondering if you guys had any recommendations for where to go.
Yeah, and recently DAIL sent out some information, and in that there is a place where you could check into. There's also other areas throughout the state that do the water testing, that they are doing them. Last we were aware, the one in Burlington was still on hold, but there are some that are doing them. I can resend that. I can send that to you, Is it Kevin that's asking the question?
Yeah.
I can send that to you to make sure that you have that one. But there are other ones throughout the state. I might be able to get a list. I'm not sure. I'm not sure how many of them there are. So.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
The
local lab is called Endine, and it's in Williston, and they're taking them.
Okay. Yeah, I think that one was like $50 a pop. People are just kind of looking for cheap alternatives, I guess.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, if anybody has any ideas on that, feel free to email everyone.
That'd be great.
So today's agenda items, we're going to talk about creating cases, creating location cases and assessments. That's going to include clarifications on pre-inspections, multiple participants at locations, and 5-year reassessments. We're going to talk about attaching documents and naming conventions for those documents. Reviewing non-compliant items from inspections, and requesting variances and doing the home modifications. We're going to talk about sending feedback to DAIL, as well as looking at the conversations that have been happening with us at DAIL, because they are in the system. You just got to know how to find them. Follow-up assessments, the parameters and how to do those. And then approving a case. Approving a case once all the inspections are approved and done. And then the last few items are kind of specific, specific and kind of out of the ordinary. Certificate of occupancies, how we're dealing with those. Those are mainly done on apartment buildings or buildings that have more than maybe one apartment. We'll talk about the emergency placements and the changes that were made because of COVID-19 and how those changes relate to even when we are now up and running with visits. Printing cases and printing assessment items, so you can maybe put those in charts or give those to home providers so they can kind of deal with the non-compliant items that need to be fixed. And then reasons for closing cases and new case, closing a case, but also opening new cases. So, and then the shared location, our favorite, what we're doing with that and how that gets done. So,
Renee, one thing we forgot to add to that is we're also going to review the accessibility process.
Yes, yep, and that's we'll be looking at that toward the end. That's kind of a big one. So when you first log in, I don't know, Nancy, you're new to the database, correct?
Yes, I was going to be Laura's backup.
Yeah, and then Desiree and Lori, you haven't logged in yet, right? You will though when we get done with this training. So.
Okay, that sounds good.
So when you log into the system, you'll see this home screen, and you'll be able to navigate to various areas. When you first log in, you feel free to kind of go to the different areas to see what they look like. That chart, that graph at the beginning is kind of helpful if you need to quickly see some of your non-compliant assessments. You can go to there and see which ones they are. So the overall process to the database is that locations are entered first, and they're really the master record for all our assessments or cases that have participants tied to them. So it goes locations is the first door. You gotta have the location, and then from there a case, which a participant is associated to the case. And so the case is participant specific. And then from there, assessments or inspections are done within a case. And if you're doing a safety inspection, that would be an assessment. If you're doing an accessibility, that is an assessment. And those are done within the case. So we're gonna go through this process, but just remember that's the overall flow: location, case, and assessment. So location screen, you wanna click your location tab at the top of your home page, and you'll go to that. And from the when you're there, you'll have a list of assessments that show up on the bottom. Sometimes it shows just your locations. It'll have a list of locations. This is the wrong screen, but it'll be similar. It'll show like all your locations or your recent locations. And this is the area you'll want to start with, the location screen. And you'll see this search bar, and you'll want to search to make sure the address or location you're trying to find is not already in the database. And to do that, search in the search bar minimal amount of information of the address. So you want to add, we always suggest you add just like the numbers to begin with. If you know the exact address, just add the numbers to start with. If you don't know the numbers or you think you got it wrong, you can put in the street. You can put in, school street, but just keep in mind that might show like 10 or 5 different ones. So you'll need to kind of go through there and see if it's there.
Or better yet, you could just put in school, because there could be school roads, there could be, if somebody put the street in incorrectly, then it might not come up.
Yep.
So less is better in this particular search bar.
Yep.
But you do have to do the whole word. You can't do SCH because it will not come up. You have to do the whole word, but just do minimal words.
Yeah. Yeah, good point. Yeah, don't try putting street or road in there, because sometimes they're entered, sometimes they're spelled just ST or ST R. So just be wary that just to really start with the number, and then maybe a name of if you have like, maybe it's like John Henry Highway, you could start Henry Highway or just Henry or something. Just keep that in mind. So
there is specific words that you're supposed to use and spell out. However, sometimes, of course, people make errors. So there is in the manual a list of what words to use and what words not to use. Like, you shouldn't use RD. You should spell out the word road. You shouldn't use ST, R or ST. You should write out street. So those are all in the manual. But again, once in a while somebody makes a mistake. So it's best not to enter that when you're searching, because if there has been a mistake, it's not going to come up.
Yeah. And the biggest problem with this is if we go to enter a new location and it's already there, we create duplicates, and that makes it really, really challenging. So, yeah, and good question. If a location is held by a different agency, it will show up on the list, but you won't be able to see the details of it. You'll need to contact the agency, either to share the agency, which we'll talk about later, share the location, or you'll need to just contact the agency to get more information, possibly. So, so going on, we're going to talk about creating locations right now. So this is the process. Locations is the first door. So creating a location, you'll see going back near the search bar, there's a little square next to it that says new. You'll need to click that new button. And then when you do that, this window will pop up and you'll start filling this out. You'll need to put your agency, provider agency there. And then you'll need to go ahead and try to search for the home provider, because it's possible the home provider was entered before. So you'll want to go ahead and search their name there. If you don't find them, you'll need to create a new contact, and you'll click that plus sign there, and you'll go ahead and add their name and account name. You'll need to put that in there, and that's always going to be citizen provider. So you'll need to make sure that that's there. If you try saving this without anything there, it will yell at you. So you'll need to include that. We really want people to start adding home provider phone numbers and emails if possible, because we're starting to find that there's duplicate names in the database that just duplicate names. So we need to somehow distinguish them, and a phone number and an email is a good way to do that. So
This also may help the housing contractor too, if there's any issues or they get lost or something to that effect.
This is Sarah. Is there a space to do that now?
yeah, there's an email and phone. When you're creating the contact, there is an email and phone area. So
Great.
yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. So then you're going to save that, and you go back out to this new location, the new location window, and you'll continue down and you'll add the address, the city, the state. We'll get into state later, but we only want you to add the VT. Don't spell out Vermont. Don't spell out New Hampshire. Zip code, county. There's actually another field right next to this now, and it's out of state county. So on the county list of all our Vermont counties, there's one at the very bottom that says out of state. And if you check that for that, you'll need to write the out of state county next to it. So, and then there's a country field. Just go ahead and leave that blank. Don't put US, don't put USA. Just leave it blank there. And this is a 911 address. Remember, it's not mailing, even though it says mailing state, mailing zip, but some zip codes, some physical zip codes are different than mailing zip codes. So, Lisa, anything to add on this one?
No, I think you covered it all.
All right. So when you're done with that, we just wanted to give you the list of how we want, the address naming standards, and this is in the manual, like Lisa said. I'm not going to spend time on this right now, but just please refer back to it, and just remember the biggest thing is street and road, that we want it spelt out. We don't want acronyms. So quick quiz. I know we didn't spend a lot of time, but acronyms, which one is correct for creating an address? So just think about that for a second. The two of those are correct there. There you go.
Yeah.
We're doing the VT without the period and street spelled out. So
Some of us can only hear you. We can't see you, so we're not able to answer.
oh, you can't see the screen?
No, it says that what you're using doesn't support my device.
Okay. All right. Well, just keep in mind, we're going to have this recorded, and we'll also share the database with you. Okay. Sorry, not the PowerPoint with you. So.
Will you send it to the super users?
Yep, I'll send it to the super users, and they can distribute to the other users because, they know the other users at the agency. So.
Right.
All right.
Oh, thank you.
Let's see.
We'll probably also post it on the website. I don't know if anybody has gone to the website, the DDSD website, or even the ASD website. We have updated those websites so that now there's a page for DAIL housing, and the service coordinator manual's posted there, all the forms that are needed, the pre-inspection forms, the form that needs to be sent now to the housing contractor to schedule an assessment. Let me see, the protocol, the housing process protocol itself, the policy. So all those things are posted there, and we can post this video of the training and the PowerPoint there also.
Good.
So once the location is created, the location will show up. You'll see the location screen, and this is what it looks like. The location number is auto generated, and what you'll need to do is you'll go to the detail screen will show, and that will show the number and the home provider, any assessment dates that are attached to it. But what you'll need to do now to create the case is go to the related tab. You'll click the related tab, and then this is what it'll look like. You'll see cases there, and you'll check click the new button, and that will bring open this page. It looks similar to when you're creating a location. You're going to need to go ahead and enter the participant's name at the top. You'll want to search first because a lot of our participants have moved around and they're probably in the database. So make sure you're searching, and when you're searching, start with their first name, last name. You start typing it and it'll start showing you some probably. You might need to start with their last name. Really try to make sure they're not in there first, because duplicate contacts get a little challenging too. So if they're not there, you're going to go ahead and add a new one like you would with the shared living provider. There's a plus sign, and you'll click that, and it'll take you to this page, and you'll go ahead and enter the full name and the last name, and don't forget the account name. There's a whole bunch of different account names you can check, but you want to make sure you grab Citizen Public. This is a change. It used to just be Citizen, and Salesforce went ahead and added Public to it, so we got to make sure you grab the Citizen Public. So, and then, I don't know, if you have other information, I don't know if a participant has a cell phone, you could add that. It might be helpful. We still haven't figured out how to really create unique IDs for people when we generate them because the whole duplicate issue. But don't worry about that. Just save, and then it brings you back out to here. And you'll want to put in the program there under program. Don't worry about the status or case origin. That gets auto generated. That stuff gets changed later too after you save this if you're doing other things. We'll talk about emergency placements in a little bit, but if it is an emergency placement, you would actually, up top, you'd actually say yes in that drop down box, and you have to write a note there. You have to write a comment about why you're requesting an emergency. And then just a reminder, it's important to do their full name. You gotta do their full name when you're creating that participant. So now you got a case. You got the case created within the location, has a case number. You now can click on that. There's the case number, and you can click that, and it takes you to the case. It'll take you to the case, and then now the next step would be to add an assessment if you need to. And I'm going through all just adding new location cases and assessments right now. But keep in mind, some of these might exist, so you might only be doing like a new case or a new assessment. But we'll go through some of that later about if it already exists and you're kind of creating a new assessment or new case. You got to close out a case and create a new one. We'll go through that in a little bit. So now on to assessments. You've created the case. If you have a location that's already existent, you might actually be able to see if there's an assessment expiration date. Up top of a location, it might give you an expiration date of the inspection. So you want to look at that if there are previous assessments. If it hasn't expired, then you don't have to do anything.
And that means you just add the case, right? A new case.
Yeah. If it's expired, you'll want to go ahead. You'll go ahead and close out the old case and start a new one. We'll talk about that later, but this kind of is just giving you a sense of that expired date, and you can see what you need to do in that location. So creating an assessment, you'll open the case. It looks similar to the location. It has the case with a number. I think there might be a number up here. I can't remember if the name is there. I think we took the name out from up top, but you'll see this is actually not there anymore. It used to be there, but it'll tell you the program, the status, and you'll want to go to the related tab of the case in order to see if there's an assessment there. And if there is an assessment, then you can go into it. If not, you'll click the new to create one. This screen pops up, this window pops up, and it's very important. There's 5 options here, but really you'll ever only use 3 options here. And really, we don't even want you doing, we're trying to get away from single bedrooms. We're trying to get all the rooms inspected. So really the main ones you're going to be using are from this window, you'll click either safety assessment initial or accessibility assessment initial. You'll never click follow up on this screen. So.
Can I back up for a minute, Renee?
Yep.
The screen before this, you said if there's an assessment there to go into it. He was talking about if you're already working an assessment, there may be an assessment if you're opening a new case and the house needs to be inspected, you're always going to have a new case and a new assessment. You're not going to go into an old assessment.
Yep. Yeah. So this is you'll go next from this window, and it'll create a new assessment window. This will pop up, and it looks similar to the case windows and the location windows. You'll go ahead and start filling this out. You'll start with to be scheduled. You'll need to select a form template, and you'll want to make sure that that's the correct one. There's 3 different templates. One is for the safety assessment, one's for the accessibility, and one's for bedrooms. So you want to make sure you select the right one there. And then you'll go down here and you'll check that there's a fire plan and a pre-inspection These you'll leave blank unless they apply. And then you'll complete the visit date later after you have coordinated the visit date with the contractor, with the inspector. And then you'll enter the service coordinator. And then you will not enter anything in this assigned contractor. The contractor will do that. So, and then you'll press save, and it'll basically open the assessment like it'll look similar to the case and the location. You'll have a details tab and a related tab. So if you go to the related, this is when you now upload, because you've just created that assessment. You got to get those files there that you clicked that you have, and so you need to upload them now. And this related tab is where you do that. So you'll upload fire plans, pre-inspection forms, chimney cleaning, verifications, any other documents, water tests. If this was an accessibility assessment, you might be uploading a PT or OT document. You can upload pictures here, photos. So the housing contractor will not schedule the assessment until these documents have been obtained and uploaded. So, you know, they can go in and they will go in and check this assessment, make sure they're there. There is that new form that we have created that needs to be submitted to them prior to a visit being scheduled. So on that form, it will also indicate to them that these forms have been obtained. So uploading documents, we're trying to keep the name similar, like because if we're ever to be able to do data checks on these documents, we will be able to pull them out quicker if they have a similar naming convention at the beginning. So we're asking you just to save the documents with these naming conventions.
And it's very important that all documents are uploaded into the related tab of the initial assessment, not the case, not the variance. Everything is an initial assessment. The only exception to that is for emergency placements, which we'll get into later.
So once the assessment has been entered into the housing portal, the agency will basically, like I said, they'll request the visit. They'll complete the request form for the housing contractor to schedule the visit. And on that form, they'll need the assessment ID, and they'll contact the housing contractor through email, and they'll schedule the housing assessment. So after the date has been established, go back into the housing portal to the assessment, enter that date in which the assessment is scheduled, and then you'll want to change the status of the assessment from to be scheduled to scheduled. And this is an important step that is required in order for Evergreen and the housing contractor to be able to enter the assessment information. It's important because with their report, they find it with the status as scheduled. That's how they find it. So it's easier. They'll have the ID, but they'll also see that in their report. So
And Renee, it's Sarah again. We just received forms that we have to fill out and email to Evergreen as well before they'll even set up
yes,
an inspection or a follow-up. And it's basically the information that we would have added into the database.
yeah. So but the information still needs to be in the database. It's there. You're just simply putting it on that form to Evergreen, and you're confirming that those documents are there. And because what we have seen in the last year is that documents are not being uploaded, water tests are not being done ahead of time. We've had several failures just because of water tests, and we really want these things to be uploaded in there so Evergreen, knows that they've been done. And then when they're out there, they can see the fire plan in the house, they can confirm the fire plan's in the house, but they can also see that, the chimney cleaning was done by a professional, the water test was done if needed. So that's really the reason we want to hopefully get to a point where this stuff is completed or at least uploaded, because some of this stuff might have been done, but it was never uploaded or shown to Evergreen. So that's why that's the reason for this this process change, and really this form that needs to go to Evergreen and really telling them that it's been done. So
Right. And basically the form says is that you're not waiting for the water test. You've got to have that water test back, and it needs to be uploaded before you even ask for an inspection.
correct.
The same with the chimney. If the chimney falls within the definition, which is on the form and in the policy and stuff, if it falls within that, the chimney has to be inspected prior to scheduling this. So if you have a home that that's going to need to be inspected, or a 5-year that's coming up, those you should be working with the shared living provider to make sure that these tests get requested and done so that you can get the test results back and get the assessment scheduled.
Okay, but how far in advance are you allowed to do that? Like, what if I tell them and they do it 3 months ahead of time?
That should be fine for the chimney. I believe for the water test too. Just recently, we've had some correspondence with Evergreen, and they were going to double check to see how long water tests are good for, but I believe 3 months is fine. They'll let us know if it's differently, but I think they were talking more like a year or something like that. So 3 months ahead of time, or the chimney was done 3 months ahead of time, or 4 months ahead of time, that's fine, as long as it wasn't done 2 years ago.
Okay, makes sense. And they'll let us know for sure what that cutoff point is.
Right. For the chimney, it's within the last year before the assessment. For the water, again, I'm not certain on that, and we actually just today, I think it was, had some correspondence in regards to that too, as far as how long it could be before the water test is invalid. So I don't know the answer to that. We probably will know that answer on Monday, maybe.
Okay, and you'll just shoot out an email to us to let us know?
Okay.
And where can that form that Sarah is referencing, where can that be found?
That is actually posted on the website.
Oh, good. Good.
And it was sent out to the the super users.
Yep.
I'm not sure who's asking this.
It's
but-
Eileen. It's Eileen.
Oh, okay. I believe the actual document was sent out to the super users. For those that are new to the system every agency has what is called a super user who has just a little bit more privileges and is in charge of making sure that everybody's trained and input stuff correctly for their agency. And so that's our DAIL's point of contact usually, and they would disperse it.
Good.
I have a quick question about the forms that came Evergreen. Somebody just referenced there was a form that came from Evergreen. This is Marcia at CAP. Sorry.
Yes.
That
It did
basically mimics
from
the
Evergreen.
The only
came from
thing
DAIL.
I got from Evergreen, any kind of a form, was the pre-screening help survey. So,
Yeah.
am I missing a form here?
No, it wasn't from Evergreen. It's for Evergreen. It came from DAIL.
Okay. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yep.
I have another question with the kind of the new format for doing inspections. As far as you know, in the instructions that were recently sent out, you guys talked about how agency rep, somebody from Evergreen, home care provider, if that's the case, and the client with a maximum of 4 people in the house. We haven't really been sending service coordinators into homes, and I was wondering if the agency representative would have to be there as well as the home care provider for that.
Actually, Kevin, I think that is something DAIL has a call set up with Evergreen on Monday, and I think that's one thing that we're going to discuss because there's some confusion and different agencies are doing it differently at this point. Some people are going into the home with precautions and other people are not. So we need to figure out, we need to get that clarified, but I think we're discussing it on Monday, so you should be hearing something further.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so those are good questions. Quick quiz. What is the correct process for entering information into the portal? There you go. Location, case, and assessment. So, all right. So accessibility assessments. Lisa, do you mind taking this?
Okay. Accessibility assessments, these have been done differently over the years, so there's a little bit of confusion on this, so we thought we would put this in here. At the current process is that any individual, well, you can read it, who's in a wheelchair or walker or other mobility or accessibility needs, that home needs to have an accessibility assessment done. In the past, again, sometimes a OT, PT might do something, and that was sufficient. That's not the case. If there's a individual who has a mobility or accessibility need, then accessibility needs to be done. It needs to be requested, and the process is basically the same as a home safety assessment. The agency would go in and do a pre-inspection. Basically, you know, we don't, if you look at the form and stuff, I mean, they're simple things like you know, our bars in the bathroom and stuff like that. So that's something agency can do. It's not real complex. And they would do that. The assessments requested in the housing portal, just as the same process. It would be under the participant, the case for that participant that needs to have the accessibility done. Evergreen or the housing contractor would be contacted to set that up. Whenever possible, this should be done in conjunction with a home safety inspection. Now, sometimes that is possible, sometimes not. If the home's already been inspected and somebody moves in a year later, then it would just be an accessibility because the home's already inspected. So you want to go to the next one, I think. The home is, the housing contractor actually does the accessibility based on ADA standards. So it's the same process. It's entered in, and I should say that most of the time, because the assessment's done for ADA standards, and the individual has some accessibility, mobility issues, many times there's going to be deficiencies, things that have not met the ADA, the requirements for that individual. And so most of the time, an OTPT still has to do an evaluation that would be uploaded into the assessment, the initial tab of the the related tab of the initial accessibility assessment. And OTPT still needs to do a functional assessment. And then, of course, if there's deficiencies, that assessment that they do needs to address anything, any of the deficiencies that are in the home. Now, this is a change, so to speak. It's been back and forth some, but this is the way it is now, is that if there's a second or subsequent individual that's in the home, and an accessibility has already been done, and the second individual also has a mobility issue. So say the first individual is in a wheelchair, and the accessibility assessment was done for that individual in the wheelchair. Now a second individual is moving in, and they use a walker. They would also need to have accessibility. However, one was done on the home. The accessibility was the ADA requirements on the home. So it gets a little bit complex here just because of the limitations on the system. It's not real difficult. It's just a couple extra steps. The provider agency would enter the accessibility assessment into the second individual, the case with that second participant. They would enter accessibility assessment. However, because the assessment's already been done on the home, they would not contact the housing contractor. In this instance, they would contact DAIL, because what we have to do behind the scenes is DAIL is going to have to manually input the accessibility that was done on the home under the first case. We're going to have to manually enter it into the second case, and so that the information's there. The PTOT functional assessment would be done for this second subsequent participant, and it would have to still address all the deficiencies that were found in the accessibility assessment that was done by the housing contractor. So that assessment, functional assessment, would be uploaded into the related tab of that initial accessibility assessment, and most likely the agency would be requesting a variance for those items, and DAIL would review the PTOT assessment and the deficiencies for that home to make sure that everything was sufficient and in order for that subsequent participant. So did everybody follow that? Does that make sense? Do you have any questions?
So Lisa, are you saying that you fill out both assessments and that you attach them both, or do you attach the accessibility one into the initial assessment?
For the subsequent person?
No.
Oh,
if you're just doing the accessibility and you still have to do the health and safety, do you do both of, you said you do both of them at the same time, but do they both go in as separate assessments?
correct. You would do the process, you go through the process that Renee just talked about. You would do one for an initial home safety inspection, and then you'd put in a second assessment in there that would be the initial accessibility assessment.
Okay. And the system will allow two to go in.
Right, they're different. They're different. One's accessibility and one's a home safety, so that's fine. It's when you try to enter the same kind of assessment twice that's when it messes things up.
Okay, makes sense.
So just keep in mind, if there's non-compliant items with an accessibility inspection, those items have to be dealt with by the PTOT eval or assessment. They have to mention those in their report, and then that report is uploaded, like we said, but there has to be a variance submitted to DAIL's quality team regarding those items, and you would tell us that those items have been addressed by the PTOT report, and you go through each item like you would with any variance and tell us in a note that item is addressed by the PTOT report. I mean, they could decide, oh no, we want to fix all these accessible issues, and they want to fix their home, and they can do that too. But
it could be a mixture. It could be a mixture too. It could be, say there's the OTPT says there needs to be grab bars in the bathroom. That's something that DAIL wouldn't approve in a variance. That's a home modification. So you would submit the variances first, and then if there's any home modifications that are needed after the PTOT does their functional assessment and DAIL, and you request a variance, DAIL reviews it, then if there's any home modifications, they still need to be made.
Yep. So in that similar.
If the service coordinator is doing the pre-inspection, there's a lot in yellow here. I'm looking at it now. So is the service coordinator supposed to tell them, well, this ramp needs to be at this height, your toilet needs to be this height, you need to have the grab bars in there? Isn't that something that the home Evergreen should be coming through and saying?
Some of that, well, the service coordinator knows the individual, knows they're looking at those things. I'm just trying to think of a easy thing here. So if there's grab bars, if it says they need grab bars, but the individual cannot use their arms, that they might be a paraplegic or something, then the service coordinator knows that, okay, there's no grab bars, but they don't need to be there because they're not going to help this individual in regards to their mobility in the home. So even though it might be in yellow, the service coordinator, has to use a little bit of, they know the individual, they need to use a little bit of common sense, so to speak, as far as looking at what's there and what may need to be fixed versus what they may assume needs to be fixed. They might say, okay, this person doesn't use the toilet, they use something else, and therefore, if the toilet's not the right height, it's really not going to impact this individual's ability to move about the house or function. So, some of the things are highlighted for them to take a look at, but it doesn't necessarily mean for that individual that these are going to have to be corrected. Does that make sense?
It does to a point, but I guess I'm saying with our other health and safety inspections, we need to make sure that the things that are highlighted in yellow that we mark no are corrected. So your whole list is marked in yellow here, basically. So, that's what I don't, because then the home inspectors won't set up a home inspection unless these things are checked yes, that they're corrected.
No, with the accessibility, it's a little bit different with the accessibility. It is to look at things that may need to be fixed. The accessibility is a little bit different because that's more in regards to ADA and the function of the individual. It's a little bit different than the home safety one. The home safety one, yes, you have to have a fire extinguisher there. Yes, you have to have a smoke detector. So those are given, those are required regardless. The accessibility is a little bit different because it is, it's accessibility to ADA for the home, but you are looking at that too in regards to the individual's ability to move about and function in the home safely.
Okay. All right.
This is Marcia at CAP. I have a question about the accessibility assessments and the timing. I'm looking at the last page of the accessibility inspection, and I want to make sure I'm interpreting this correctly. In the past, Evergreen or whomever was the contractor would come in, they would say, okay, here's what doesn't meet code, here's what does meet code. We would take the report to the physical therapist and say, please do an assessment and tell us whether or not this is applicable, making this change is applicable to the person. And you guys just talked about this. But what I'm reading now on the last page that was just sent out in July is that the service coordinator is responsible for ensuring that all items marked no that need home modifications will be addressed prior to the inspection taking place. So I've got a home that I know is going to need an accessibility assessment because the person has mobility issues. I go in, I do a preliminary accessibility inspection. I tell them this meets code, these other things don't. They get the physical therapist in there, they build a ramp or whatever it is that they need, and then I've got to go back and verify that that is all done before Evergreen can walk through the door and say, and do the official assessment. Is that how, am I reading that correctly?
Okay. I'm wondering, I think that we need to, Dale needs to take a look at that again. We changed things around multiple times. Believe it or not, we're trying to figure out the easiest and best process for this. And so many things were edited multiple times. So I want to make sure that that form actually says what is intended. As I was just telling Marcia, was it? I'm sorry, whoever I was speaking to before. But in regards to if something has to be, a home modification has to be corrected in the home, whether for a home safety assessment or for accessibility assessment, if there's a home modification that has to be completed, yes, the service coordinator needs to verify that it's been done. What we've been finding in the last year or two is that there's been multiple times when either a shared living provider, I'm assuming a shared living provider has said, yeah, we got those fixed, or we'll have them fixed by the assessment. I'm not exactly sure what they've been saying, but the housing contractor gets out there to do a follow-up, and it still is not correct. And we're trying to prevent that. So just a phone call from a shared living provider, unless you're 100% sure, but we're asking that you verify that everything's been corrected, whether it's a home safety or accessibility. because there's been so many times when the housing contractor has gone back to the home and the item has not been completed. And so it's a waste of their time, it's a waste of money, it's a waste of everybody's time. It hasn't been done, and we're trying to fix that.
Right, no, I understand that. I got that.
Okay.
I understand that.
So, I would like to look at the form again, just to make sure that we have not missed an update or missed changing something.
Okay,
Okay?
thank you.
All right, yeah, that's a big one, and we certainly, I'm sure there will be more questions about this one, but our manual has been updated to reflect the changes, and hopefully it makes sense for the most part. And don't hesitate to contact us, certainly on those second individuals moving in. That does make it a little more challenging. So going back to an assessment with non-compliant items, if an assessment does not pass, is not approved on its first initial visit, then there are non-compliant items that need to be dealt with. And if you go into the assessment after the contractor does their part with the inspection and puts their notes and updates it in the system, once they do that, you'll get an email notice that basically says the status of the assessment has been changed to non-compliant and has items for you to review or something like that. And you'll click on that link and it'll take you to the assessment. And up top, you'll see this button to click. Basically, it says non-compliant items. You'll click that, and it will show you a list of your non-compliant items related to that inspection. And within that, you'll need to decide each item if you want to go ahead and submit a variance or not. That is the first question you have to ask yourself. Are any of these items going to be variance requests? If they are, then you have to deal with those items first. You'll have to go into the column that says result resolution, and you'll change that that section of the column to request variance. And then you'll need to write a variance note. You'll need to write something like the person does not use, I'm trying to think of some of the safety inspection ones. Oh, window. Person does not use this window, has another window, is not the egress window, or the window is this big but can be basically taken care of by the fire department because it's big enough, and the side of the window is made of wood or vinyl or whatnot. So, or there might be other ones like, oh yes, the wood stove is there, but they have decided not to use it and will not use their wood stove. So you'll need to write a note. You'll need to request the variance items first. All the ones that you might be doing initiate home modifications for, you'll not choose that at this step. Yes, the home provider should be working to get those modified and corrected, but you don't have to do anything at this point if you're doing variance requests. So
And just to clarify, you have to indicate each item that you're requesting the variance for, and a note has to be put in there, and you have to request the variance for each item. If you do it just for one, it does not go through the way the system is set up. It will only ask DAIL for a variance for that one item.
So what you'll do is these first, like the first two, if you're doing a variance, you'll leave this last one blank for now, and you'll do request variance, and then you save it with the notes, and then that goes to us at DAIL to look at. So remember, when you request a variance, you need to actually get a note from the participant or their guardian, basically saying that they understand the variance being requested and support it. So we've noticed that hasn't been happening in some situations, and we have to ask for that. So, and we might deny or submit feedback back to you saying that you need that. So.
And also, once you submit the variance, it locks it until DAIL reviews it. So if you forgot to add a note or forget to do something and you save it, you're not going to be able to go back in to fix it. So it's important to make sure you check everything before you push save.
This is Marcia at CAP. I have a quick question regarding the variance process. Right, now that we're doing the preliminary assessments, and I'm telling folks, okay, this needs to be changed, that needs to be changed, etc. They call me up and they say, everything's fixed according to what you told me. I go back in, I verify everything that they've changed, and they request a variance on, let's say, the porch railing at that point. Do I request the variance then? Because Evergreen still hasn't come in and done the official assessment at that point.
No, you'll only do a variance after Evergreen has been there.
Okay.
I mean, has that ever happened, Lisa, where they know something's not going to pass, but they want a variance ahead of time? Has that ever happened?
I'm not sure if it has or not, but it cannot happen moving forward. The assessment has to be done first, and then if there's a variance to be requested, then it's requested after the initial assessment is done and entered in, and housing contract is entered into the portal.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, the way the process has changed, the way I'm reading it now, I did a home inspection 2 weeks ago and said you need to install a smoke detector, you need to do this, you need to have a fire extinguisher here, etc. I went back and they've changed everything according to the checklist I gave them. So if they had said we don't want to do the porch railing, I know ahead of time that they're going to be requesting a variance. But I can't request it from what you've just said. I can't request that until Evergreen has come in and done the official inspection, said everything is fine except for that porch railing. Then I upload the permission from the guardian, all of the paperwork associated with that. Then I request the variance.
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Marcia, I mean, in that pre-inspection checklist, you could simply put, the railing does not meet, but they don't want to change it and they're hoping for a variance. Like, you can write a note like that even in the pre-inspection checklist, just so it reminds you, and that, they know what they want to do, but it still needs to go to Evergreen first before that can happen. So,
okay.
Yeah.
All right. One quick feedback about the pre-inspection safety checklist.
Uh-huh.
The page used to have a text box where you could write stuff like that. And the form has changed and it's not there anymore. So I'd advocate for putting a text box back in so there's space to write stuff like that.
Yeah.
Please.
So right now we do have a fillable PDF and you can write on a computer with it. I don't know if we can make that bigger for when you print it out, but I guess we could look at that, right, Lisa?
I'm not sure if that's what, we'll have to take a look at it. I'm not sure how we actually we didn't transfer that one over that way, Renee. So we'll have to take a look at that. What happened, yeah, we know what happened. So we've written it down and we'll try to do it. We'll see what we can do to make that happen. So there's a comment section.
Thank you.
If DAIL approves the variance items, but there are other non-compliant items not requested in the variance, the service coordinator will need to check with the home provider to ensure all other home repairs have been completed before scheduling a follow-up inspection. If DAIL approves the variance items and there were no other home modifications needed, then a follow-up does not need to be created. DAIL will approve the assessment and the service coordinator will go into the housing portal and approve the case. Some of these variance items, DAIL might approve some and not others. So basically, whatever doesn't get approved by DAIL, those would have to change into the home modification category. You'd have to go in and, do the home modifications. You have to actually choose the home modification button in these sections and press save before you can create a follow-up inspection. So because the home modifications indicate that when you press that, it indicates that they have been done and you're looking to create that second visit by Evergreen. So
I think we've covered all this. Now it's time for the follow-up.
yeah. So scheduling a follow-up, important. You have to, when you create a follow-up, it has to be done from the initial assessment. You have to go into that assessment, and there's a request follow-up button in the right-hand corner. You're gonna click that within the assessment. You're gonna click that within that assessment. So, and when you do that, the system will generate a follow-up, and you don't want to click this button twice. You just want to make sure, just wait, and if you need to, you might need to refresh your browser to see if it created it. So, and it should take you right into the follow-up. If it doesn't, you can go back out to the case related tab and find that second assessment that was created. Service coordinators must confirm in person that all required modifications have been completed before scheduling this follow-up with the housing contractor. So if the agency follows the guidance and everything has been done, there should only be one follow-up assessment. There should be no need to schedule two follow-ups. If there is need to go back out and do a third visit, we have to do that within the existing follow-up assessment. Do not create another one. Evergreen will go back out and use the existing follow-up assessment to see if the items were corrected.
Again, though, the goal is that this doesn't happen, that there's never a second follow-up, that everything is completed by when they go out for the first follow-up.
So the follow-up assessments created, you will you'll contact Evergreen, you'll tell them that it's there, and you'll create the visit. There's no form for this visit. You don't have to submit a form to them. That you email them and tell them, okay, the home modifications were done. We need to do the follow-up visit. Schedule the date, put in your visit date and time, and then again, change the status of this assessment from to be scheduled to scheduled. And then you will go out there with Evergreen and take care of that visit. So when creating a contact for a home provider, they are always listed as home provider, provider, or citizen provider. So just think about that for a moment. Oh, sorry. It's citizen provider. So it's confusing. It's not similar to what we're used to. We're used to, just working with, calling people home providers or shared living providers or providers, and the whole citizen is kind of unusual for us in our world. So when uploading documents into the housing portal, they should always be uploaded where? In the related tab of the case, in the related tab of the assessment, whichever screen you're working on. That's a good one. It is related tab. The documents should always be in the related tab of the initial assessment, except when an emergency placement is being requested, and we're going to be talking about that soon. True or false, when requesting a variance for multiple items, you only have to enter variance notes and request a variance once.
False.
False. Each item in which a variance is requested needs a note and request made. So, true or false, when entering a follow-up assessment, it is created from the initial assessment.
True.
True. The follow-up is always created from the initial, and there can only be one follow-up. If you do that new assessment, if you click that new assessment button, and in that screen of five assessment record comes up, try to get out of it. Don't do that. So, what needs to be completed before the housing contractor is contacted to schedule an assessment? A pre-assessment is completed, and the assessment is then created after that, and all the documents are uploaded, and then the DAIL form to request an assessment is filled out and sent to the housing contractor via email. So other important areas: certificate of occupancy homes and printing a case. So for certificate of occupancies, you will notice within a I'm going to head back here to after you create an inspection, you'll see this button here. you'll create this when you've got a certificate. You still have to create a safety inspection, a safety assessment, and you'll go through this process. You still need a fire escape plan uploaded. You shouldn't need a pre-inspection because it's a certificate's already been done. The certificate of occupancy button will be this. These steps are in our manual, but are we asking, Lisa, are they checking this now? Or they're leaving this blank, right?
You would be leaving it blank, even though you would, you would leave it blank. You would upload the fire plan, you would upload the certificate of occupancy, and then DAIL is notified through the system, correct, that it's there. And once DAIL reviews the information, if everything's in order, then they would check off the certificate of occupancy and approve that assessment.
Yeah. DAIL actually is not automatically notified, unfortunately. It doesn't. So once you have to click fire plan and pre-inspection because it won't let you save this without it. Once you click that, then upload it, you're gonna have to email DAIL at that point, your quality staff, and tell them that you've uploaded the certificate of occupancy. They'll go in and verify that it's legitimate. They'll check this box. They'll approve the status. Then you will get an email from them saying they've approved it. So.
And please note, though, that a fire plan does still have to be uploaded.
Yep. And even though you have to check this to get out of this window, we understand it's not going to be done because the certificate's already been dealt with. So we understand that, but you still got to check it. So, so you'll get the notice. You'll get the notice from us that we approve the assessment, and then you'll be able to go back in there and approve the case at that point. So. Printing a case and printing assessment items. I guess it's not. I don't have that screen here for you, but you'll see within underneath an assessment. There's this down arrow. Within that, you'll be able to print the assessment. You can print, I believe it's just print the assessment, and you'll print the whole thing out, and it will show the non-compliant items. So, and in the case, if you need to print something within the case, which if you want the kind of the case heading there is a button to the right that allows you to print the case. So I'm going to see if I can actually show you what it might actually look like. Yeah, well, I'll find that, and maybe before the end we can go through that. So going down to emergency placements, emergency placements, there's been a change. Not a huge change, but it's kind of been a little different than what we've told you in the past. What you do is when you're creating a case, you have to click that emergency placement button at the top of that case when you're creating it. You got to click yes, and you have to enter comments for DAIL, and then you're going to go ahead and save that. Once you save the record, you won't be able to edit emergency placement comments or the case at all. You will still be able to go to the related tab and upload the pre-inspection and fire plan to the related tab of the case. So for the past year, we've told you not to enter documents in any other place but the initial assessments. But now we're asking you to add it to the case before the assessment, because you haven't created the assessment, and we need to verify that you did the pre-inspection. So we need to see that that's in there with the fire plan before we can approve the emergency placement. At that point, after you upload it, we'll verify that it's there. We'll approve it. If we deny it, it's probably because we're missing some information, or we might email you back saying, can you add more information, or we'll deny it and ask you to add more information. So you'll receive an email of the decision, and then you'll be able to go in at that point and see, you'll be able to create your assessments and continue the normal course from there. So. Any questions about emergency placements? The biggest change is attaching those documents after you create the emergency case. So. All right. And then closing a case, we need you to, if you're closing a case, we need you to go to the description field, and we need you to enter the reason why you're closing the case. And these are the reasons that you'll be entering for closing a case. These are the frequently used ones. So you'll enter those in that field, and then you'll save that. There's a little a pencil button right next to the description field there. You'll click that, then you'll be able to enter the reason for closing the case. And then after you do that, you'll go up to the top of the case, you'll click closed here, and then at that point this green rectangle will say mark status closed. You'll click that, and it will open up a new window that says close this case, and you'll select the closed status right there. Basically, it just says closed, and you'll save it, and that'll close the case. You'll need to close, this is in the manual, but you'll need to close, if you're opening up a new 5-year inspection for a client, you'll need to close out the former case before opening up a new case to do the new assessment into. So you have to close that old case out before opening up a new one. So At least I think I might be forgetting something on these closed cases. Any other situations that relate to this?
I'm sorry, I missed it. If you said you need to make sure I put a note in there.
Yep, a note. And if it's a 5-year, you're closing out their original case and opening up a new one. Yeah.
Yeah, or the person moves or something, please remember to close out the case, the old case, and enter the new one into the system. We frequently find multiple cases open on the same person. We don't know if they're at 2 locations or if it was an error. And sometimes we find 2 cases at the same location open. We find that quite a bit. So it is important that you remember to close out any old cases.
Yep.
So if we close out a case because the individual moves,
Yep.
it still leaves that location open in case someone else moves in.
Correct.
Yep. Locations never close. They're always in the system. Obviously, if a home service provider doesn't want to be a service provider anymore, then it's just not being used. We don't close out locations. So, yeah.
Even if the home provider doesn't want to be a home provider anymore, shared living provider anymore, yeah, the location is still there regardless. Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
I have a question related to chimney inspections.
Yep.
Is that now a standing practice, or is it specific to wood stoves and or active fireplaces?
Correct. It's those that are being used. And the information that was just sent out, and I think it's also in the process, the protocol, and the manual now. It's if there's I don't have the wording in front of me because my computer's acting up. It's a masonry chimney that is being used for fireplace, wood stove, and there's another thing in there, wood heating system or something like that. It is required, and it's required by a professional when the home is being done. In between that, the other years in between, of course, the home is done at least every 5 years unless QM finds that it's necessary to do it again or there's a big home modification. So it's done at least once every 5 years. In between that, it should, service coordinator should make sure that the chimney is being cleaned. And we created a form that they can use for that, and that can be uploaded into the portal. We're not requiring it to be. It would be nice if it was, but we're not requiring it to be, but they should make sure that the chimney is being cleaned regularly and that form's filled out. But the professional one is required when the home is being inspected for those situations.
Okay. Thank you.
Renee, it's Sarah. Back to the closing case piece.
Yeah.
Because like I said, I can only hear you, but I went to one of my locations and opened a case.
Yeah.
Just to look at it.
Yeah.
If I would close it, do I need to go up to the top to edit?
No, you're gonna
I have
go
a
up.
case.
You're gonna
I
go.
have a case.
Do you see the spectrum on the top that says different statuses?
Yeah, and it's on approved. It's on approved right now.
Yeah, so if you just click, don't worry, this won't mess anything up, but if you click closed, you'll see that it kind of highlights closed, and then there's a green, then there's a rectangle next to it that says mark status closed, and you would click that, and then a little window would open for you to close it and press save. So
I need to go down to status because all I see is my closed is highlighted blue,
Mm-hmm.
And then there's a green thing that says select closed status.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, you would click that. Now you would click that. So,
Yeah.
and then another window pops up,
And
and
it says select a closed stage,
yep. So, and
which I won't do it.
you
But
you
then I
can
would,
drop, but you can drop down and just see what it says underneath.
and
I think it just
I
says,
see, yep, it says closed.
yeah, and then you would select that, and then you press that save button there. So,
Okay. And
yeah.
then go down to the bottom and give your little note.
Yeah, you can do the
Apply
note.
the-
You can do the note before or after. I prefer you to do it before, just so you're doing it. So,
So
but
is that I'm coming down to internal comments and writing in the description there?
yeah, yep, correct. It's right underneath internal comments. It says description. So,
Okay, great.
yep.
All right, thank you.
So,
Thank you.
Yep. Real quick, we didn't talk about it too much, and I think I'll send out a cheat sheet, or we'll send it out. It's the shared location request is if a second agency wants to share a location with another agency, and I think it's kind of a complicated process, but I think if you just if there is a case where you have that, you basically need to request. When you're searching in the locations, you'll see that it's a different agency has it. You can request right from that area to share a location with them, and then that sends them an email, and they have to go through the process of getting their participants or guardians permission to share this location with enough to have another agency involved in the location that they're living in, because you might see other people's names that are involved in that location, so there's a little less confidentiality there. So really you have to go through the process of each agency has to say that their guardians or participants agree with this, and the requesting agency does the first request. The current agency says whether or not their guardian approves it or not. Then it goes back to the requesting agency. They have to say if their guardians support it. Now it goes back to the current agency. They have to go ahead and submit that request to DAIL. So it's like a 4-step process before it gets to DAIL, and it's confusing, but just keep in mind that each agency has to do their part, and if an agency can't do their part, it's probably because the agency before them needs to do theirs. So it's convoluted, it's confusing. We have a cheat sheet we can send out. I suggest you work closely with the other agency when you're doing this. The best way to do this is to email with them, make sure that you both are doing what you need to do, and then once it gets submitted to DAIL, you can go into that request and see if it's been submitted to DAIL. So, and you can see the status of your request by going into this area of your home screen. You can click on it and it'll show you the list of your shared access requests. It's a little bit of annoying because after a while your shared access might get approved and they still show up on that list. You just have to keep in mind that you'll see old ones that were already approved. So, yeah.
And only super users can do this, correct?
Correct. Yep. Only super users. So if there's a service coordinator that needs to start this process, or they need to share a location with another agency, and they're not the super user, they're going to need to contact the super user to do that process. So,
Right, and they won't even see, the service coordinators won't even see that shared location thing on their homepage.
correct. They won't have this. This is only on the super users page. So, yeah. So, but it has to be the two super users at each agency is doing this coordination. So, yeah.
And I had at one point, Renee, at Sarah, had gotten a request for a place I'd never even heard of and don't even know. So I just
Yeah.
basically emailed the other agency
Yeah.
and said,
Yeah.
we don't have this place. I've never even heard of the address.
Yeah, and
That was probably a DAIL error.
Yeah, that does happen. It even happens when agencies are not using old addresses anymore, and they're like, "No, we're not going to use it." Then we go in as DAIL. I go in and I just change the lead agency on the location, and that goes to the new agency. So, and you as an old agency, if it's your old address, you can still see your closed case that you've closed. You just can't add anything else in there, you know? So, yeah.
So, Renee, your screen's not showing anymore, by the way.
No. Okay.
So if you want to share that with
You missed me showing the PowerPoint. This one right here is what I was sharing when I was talking to you all. I was trying to show you that this is the shared location area that you would go into. If you request one, you can go in and see the list of all your shared locations there. So, yeah.
So are we ready? You want to go to the contact screen there? Or are you?
Let me go ahead and go down.
Can I, this is Marcia at CAP. I have a quick question. I couldn't connect through Skype, so maybe I missed this. So I've got a home that has 2 individuals living in the home, and they're going to be coming due for their 5-year reinspection. And I think the last time I did a 5-year reinspection when there were 2 individuals in the home, I think I screwed up how to asking for it. Do I create one assessment per person or one assessment for the home? And is it linked to both cases? How do I do that?
Okay. Once you have a home safety that's approved through one case, then it's approved for the house, the location. You don't need to. You can place someone new in that location with a new case, and you don't need to do a home safety because it's already been approved through the other person's case. The only exception is if that new person needs an accessibility, then you'll do an accessibility. But otherwise, you can just go ahead, open the case, approve the case because the location's not expired. So, yeah.
Change it,
Right.
to open and when the new assessment is completed and approved, then it will approve that case again, the second person.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Right, but we're asking with the 5-year inspection, we have to go in, you said, and close out, if there's 2 people in there, close out both the cases and then do like it's a whole new initial assessment all over again, correct?
Yeah, but you only need to do the assessment in one of those cases. So
Right, and then you add the case.
yeah, so you'll have 2 new cases, and they'll both be 5 years. Their old cases will say 5 years when you close them out, but when you open the new ones, one of them will have the assessment, both of them will be open until that one case has an approved assessment. And then once that first case has an approved assessment, you can approve the second one as well at that point. But until then, that second one will be open. So it'll just say open. So.
Okay, so closing both.
I'm sorry, say that again.
To begin, not closing both of them. If there are two people in there, you're just closing the one until you do the new assessment. And then they'll be open, and then you'll go in and close the other one and then add them back in?
What we'll need to do is we'll need to close out both at the same time, because it kind of signals to us that a 5 year is being done, and then we'll see that the new ones are having work done to them. So.
Okay. I'm following you. You'll approve the first one, and then you'll go in and add the second one.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, you're gonna have two new cases at the same time. Just one will have an assessment and one won't. So.
That makes sense.
Okay, and just, we forgot to mention this, but accessibilities need to be done every 5 years as well. So if there continues to be someone in the home that requires that accessibility, then that will need to be done at the same time as well. So.
What do you do if the 5 years comes up and the person has moved out, but the home provider wants to continue to be available to be for someone who's accessible? Would you do the accessibility again anyway for future?
You could wait until someone else new moves in and just do the accessibility then.
Okay.
If the home provider knows that they're going to have somebody moving in that has a mobility, you could contact DAIL at that time, because it may be beneficial to do it all at one time. However, if it becomes that 8 out of 10 homes want to do that, then we may have to reconsider that, because we need, if somebody never moves in, then it's an expenditure for DAIL that is never being used. So if it's just once in a while that happens, just contact us, and we can just take a look at it each time.
Okay.
That does bring up a good question. Like if there are no participants in the house, their 5 year reinspection is still good. They can still bring someone in during that 5 year, even if they have someone move out. They still need to get something done. If there's no one moving back into the home before when it expires, we can't do an inspection until there's someone to attach the inspection to. So at that point, they're going to have to wait until someone moves in their home to get it done.
Yeah, you're correct. After I said that, I realized that that's not going to work.
Yeah.
You're going to have to wait until somebody's in the home, because it has to go underneath. It needs to go with a case. And if you don't have a participant to do a case with, then you can't do the assessment.
Yeah. But keep in mind, you have that 5 years. If someone moves out and there's still 2 years left, it's still good, So,
So I would like to ask everybody, when using the manual and also the forms and stuff, if you find that something is not working or doesn't make sense, or you have suggestions, please email us so that we can all work together to improve the system and make it work fluently and well for everyone. As Renee said at the beginning, he's going to be moving on, and he's going to leave a huge, huge hole in this whole process. He's done some amazing work on this portal. And so at this time, Teresa Nelson is working to learn the whole process and everything else. and she's trying to get up to speed on everything, and she is working diligently to do that. In the meantime, I guess I would be your main contact, and we'll try to figure it out. Please have patience with myself and Teresa as we work through this, trying to fill Renee's huge shoes. So there's my contact information, and there's the website that has all the documents and information on it. And again, we welcome any input and ideas that you may have. Just email me, and it's not necessarily we can do everything that's requested of us, but we will, try to work together to make it work well. Is there any other questions that anybody has at this time?
Lisa, I'd just like to point out something too.
Okay.
If your questions relate directly to choices for care or TBI, just go ahead and send them right to Teresa. And same thing with DS. If they're more technical assistance or database related, go ahead and send them to Lisa, but I would CC Teresa on that so she can see the conversation that is being had regarding whatever it is about. So I think that's the way I proceed right now. Does that make sense, Teresa and Lisa?
Yeah, actually, we didn't discuss it with you, Renee, but Teresa and I already talked, and when I respond, I'm going to CC her so she'll know what's going on.
Good. So I think Teresa's email address was also on the left, on the comments section on the left, and she's also been on some of the other emails. You can grab her email off of that. So, well, it's been great. It's been great working with you all. This database is it really is a good database, even with its quirks. I've worked with other databases. I hope it's not too hard for you all. I think it will get easier. I think it's nice that we can finally, be tracking this a little better and be helping. I think this will help our service providers and participants better, and our contractors. So so good job, and it was fun doing it, and I am gonna miss it because it's been really interesting at times.
We do thank you all. We do thank you all for your patience and work that you are doing. We do thoroughly appreciate it, even though we might send you emails now and then. But this has been a huge project, and all of you have really helped. And it's nice to get past some of the basic stuff and be able to move forward.
Lisa, do you have a contact phone number for Teresa?
Teresa, do you want to add your contact number in there? I don't know what it is, to be honest with you.
And I can't see anything, so someone would have to say the number.
Okay, we'll read it once she puts it up there. Okay, it's 595-3706.
Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you. And Renee, thank you for everything.
Thank you.
Not a problem. It was great working with you all. So, and I'm sure
Renee.
I'm staying within DAIL. I'm going to APS. I might see you all some more. So.
Oh, good. Well, best of luck.
Thanks.
Take care.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank
Take
you.
care.